everybody, how is it going? I am Lucas, and today we're going to be looking at a piece of gear that is pretty close to my heart. It's going to be my Johnson J Station. I got this thing a very long time ago, way back in 2000. I actually sold my Nintendo 64 with my gold Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask cartridges. I kind of regret getting rid of that, but I had to finance some music gear, so I sold that and I bought my J Station from Musician's Fair. I think I paid like $200 something for it. I actually used it from the time I was 15 to the time I was 22, 23, when I got my first tube amp, and I actually used it in my senior recital. I'll link my senior recital up top if you want to take a look at it. It's actually kind of entertaining. It's way back from 2010. So the thing with the J Station is it competed with the Line 6 pod. So it was a preamp in form. You had IRs in it. I mainly used it with my Marshall VS100 amp. I just plugged it in right in the front. The best thing to do with preamps is you run them through the return port in your effects loop on your amp, and it works out a lot better because you just get the power section and you bypass the preamp section, and it works a lot better. I didn't do that till a very long time down the road because I just didn't really read about it for some reason. But the J Station was very interesting because it did come with an editor. It didn't have a USB port. I wish they would have put one, but it came with an editor. You can build patches. I mainly just built patches from the front because it was very easy. The IO one is actually really neat for the time. So you had a spivoted port in the front, and you had your typical TRS left and right ports. You had your MIDI in and out, and you could use foot pedal with it. You could use the J12, which is the big pedal. It's like most normal MIDI pedals that you can use. You can program stuff on it. You had the J3, which that was the one I had. It was just a little bitty small pedal, and you could go up and down whenever you're going from different patches. And the way the patch banks work in here is you have 1 through 9, right? You have 1 through 9 presets that you can't save over. They're forever in there, and then you have a whole second set that's copied that you use for your presets. So you have 1 through 9, and each preset has bank 1, 2, and 3, very similar to the Line 6 pod. But what was different about it is you can actually see the amps that you're using. So you have all different amps on it, and as you move from preset to preset, you see it actually moves. So if you put on the effects and stuff like that, it moves, and you can actually see what you're using. And I was so fascinated by this because my guitar teacher / friend at the time had the Johnson JM150 Millennium tube combo, and it had tubes in the preamp, and it had digital power section. And I was so amazed by it because you had every Marshall, you had Soldano, you had Mesas in there, you had dual Rectos, and it was really neat because you could just model any amp that you wanted. I mean, I'm a young kid, you know, I don't really have a lot of money, so I'm like, cool, I get every amp possible ever. And this has kind of led me to get in the Axe effects because I was like, you know, I was already familiar with modeling and stuff like that. So this was my gateway into modeling, and it actually sounded, these things sound okay. If you hook them up, you know, to a tube amp, they sound pretty good. But what I want to investigate here is I want to investigate the IRs that are in here, and the amp modeling that's in here. I want to investigate how it sounds in 2020, and I want to investigate how it sounds whenever you're running it with some IRs. So enough of me yammering, let's actually hear this thing. So the very first thing that we're going to hear is we're going to hear my dual Recto patch, and the actual IR that I'm using with it is I'm using the IR that's in here, and it's the VHT412 with Celestion V30s in it. I find it's the best sounding IR that's actually in here, and I'm using the J Station 2.0 software. 2.0 came out, it actually came with it, so I never updated it. So when I got it like in 2000, it came with it, and they added more amps and they added more IRs, and that was the whole thing with this, was that they wanted to keep updating it so that it never went out of date. But Johnson actually shut down in 2002. They ran from about 97 to I think 2002 or 2003 when they shut down, and they were an actual part of Digitech at the time, and I guess the amps just weren't selling, but to me it was the coolest thing in the world because they were just so far ahead of their time in my mind. Anyway, enough of me talking. Let's get into playing. I'm using my headless Black Cat with crooked fan frets and some Tosin Fishmans, and once again, like I said, using the dual Recto with the VHT 412 with Celestion V30s. Oh, that sounds so good and so crunchy. So what I'm gonna do now for you is I'm gonna run through the different IRs that are on here. I'm gonna throw those up on the screen so you can see what they are and see what they're based off of. So the way you do that is you hold the shift button right here. If you hold that, and if you look on the screen, it'll flash edit. And this is like the first level editing. So it's technically 15, but it shows up as 1.5. But this is when you actually pick the cab. So we're on 14 right there. If you go all the way up to 0, this means no cab at all. We're gonna do that a little later. So let's start with number 1, and I'll chug and play through, and you'll be able to hear all the IRs. So number 18, that's the last IR we have on here. That's actually the Fender Bassman one, and it sounds pretty good. Considering it's a 410 Bassman, it sounds pretty good compared to some of the other stuff we have on here. You also have bass amps on here, which was really cool. So the Modern, British, and Rock, those are actually like all your bass amps. So when you go to the more section, that's the different amps that they actually added in here. And they actually added some pretty decent ones. I really wish they would have put a Soldano in here, but you actually have Johnson's amps in here, so like the J Crunch and the J Solo, I think they were trying to be like a 5150 Soldano, and so that's why they put it in there, because on the big amps, the JM 150 and 250, they actually had those. So now that we have gone through all the different IRs, and you've heard what the Recto sounds like, I'm going to go through some other ones, but I just kind of wanted you to hear that one, and I don't want to make this video to be like 30 minutes. So let's actually come out of there. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go here, we're gonna go to the tuner, we're gonna hold the tuner / utility, and that should take us to the deep editing mode. So this is in deep editing. So you see it has 9C and it's blinking that it's on. This is actually gonna turns the IRs off globally. So now that the IRs are off globally, just to prove to you that they're off, it's gonna sound bad. Nothing like some good preamp sound in there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn on my IRs on my computer. So what are we going to be using on the computer is we're going to be using GGD Zilla, actually an IR that I made. It's just a 412 oversized cab. It has 2 UK V30s in it, and I have the room mics in there, and it's far away, and then I have the normal close mic. So it's your typical 412 with some V30s that are going to be on it, but these IRs are shot from 2020. So ladies and gentlemen, let's see what this sounds like. So that sounds drastically better. I don't know about you, but that sounds drastically better to me. It is a tad bit boomy, so let's actually work with the controls a little bit. So what's cool about these controls is you can't actually see what you program it to, but you can still edit it after the fact. Because you see, if you turn down the bass a little bit, you see how the store button came on? So you can actually store it. As you can hear, it is really boomy. But I mean, that's kind of how a Recto sounds. So now what I want to do is I already made some presets that I want to show you. So let's move right along to those. So the next one that we were going to look at, let's look at number 61. And I store that. There we go. Let's move on to number 61. And it's in the more section, but this is actually the updated one. It's going to be the Johnson JCM 800. So believe it or not, if you look on the front of it, the Brit stack, that's actually the JCM 900. So they put the 900 in here before they put the 800, which kind of blows my mind, because if you talk to any Marshall enthusiast, the 800 is like one of the holy grail amps, and the 900s are kind of like, nah. 800s in the 80s and 900s made in the 90s. So let's actually check out the JCM. When I had this one loaded up originally, it had the 1960 A cab, which I think was number 1 on here, but we're gonna hear it with some true UK V30s, and let's see what this 800 sounds like. Oh, it's full of mids. Let's lower that down a little bit, and I need some bass. By the way, I meant drop C if you haven't noticed that already. The 800's modeling is actually pretty good. I think I read it a little bit more than the dual Recto, but when I was young, I was like, dual Recto, metal, cool. The 800 is actually nice. It's, I mean, I know it's old, but it's more organic, if that's a thing. It just sounds a little bit more organic. It's so full of mids, because look, okay, so this is me yanking all the mids out of it, and it's still... It doesn't even sound scooped. Now that we have sampled the JCM 800, let's move on to number 62, which is going to be the JCM 900. Let's see what that sounds like. This one is way more aggressive. I'd redial these in when I had the bass IRs in here that are in here. Let me redial this in. Let me put some mids. It's very harsh. That actually sounds pretty decent. It seems that the 900 has way more gain, and it's way more ballsy and aggressive than what the 800 was. I'd still rather the 800. That one did come later in 2.0 as opposed to 1.0. This one came in 1.0. So let's move on to number 63, which is going to be Hot Rod. This is actually a Mesa Mark II-C. I really wish they'd put a 2C Plus in here, because that's like one of the best Mesa amps of all time. And let's see what that sounds like. Once again, just a little reminder, we're using the same IR through all of this. Let's see what the Hot Rod sounds like. Now let me work on this one a little bit. Let's just kind of show you how I'm dialing in like I've been doing with the other ones. So the hot rod has so much mids in it, it's insane. Watch. Doesn't even sound like the mid knob even works on here. It's really weird. Let's add some low end in here. The hot rod is not my favorite one that's modeled in here. It just sounds very like shrill, and it's just, I don't know, it has too much mids in it. By the way, you can't put drives on here to scoop stuff out, and the like master volume, that has like no effect. Like on the XFX, a master volume has an effect on how it sounds. That doesn't exist on here. You have a level and a master volume. The level is just the level of the patch, and the master volume is a master volume of everything. So it doesn't really affect the actual amp sound. Just thought I would throw that in there for you guys really quickly. So let's move on to number 71, and you can't see 71 on the amp one on there because it's actually based off of a Marshall Master Volume JMP 2203 100 watt amp, once again using the same IR, and let's see what this one sounds like. Work on this one a little bit. Let's put a little treble in there. The Marshalls on here have so much mids. At least they got that part right, because Marshalls have so much mids in them. Sorry. The master volume sounds really good. It doesn't sound fake-ish, I guess you could say. I still rather it than the 900. The Marshalls in the more section in here, the 800 and the master volume, they sound really good to me anyway. So the last one that I have dialed up for you guys is going to be the J Solo. So the J Solo, like I said before, I think they were kind of going for a 5150 slash Soldano, because they don't even have the 5150 in here. The 5150 had been out almost 10 years. Well, yeah, it had almost been out 10 years whenever this thing came out, which is ridiculous, because the 5150 and the Soldano and the Recto, it's like one of the 3 most modeled amps in history. And it's really weird that it's not in here. So like I said, I guess the J Solo is the one that took its place. And let's see what that sounds like. Probably gonna have to redial it in again. Oh my god, it's so scooped. Let's throw some mids in there. Sounds a little trebly. J Solo is not my favorite one. It's very weird. It kind of sounds plasticky. I don't know. It's weird. There's something weird going on in the mids. Okay, so let me jack up all those mids. Yeah, not my favorite. All right, this video is going on super long. Let's check out, you want to do some clean sounds real quick? Yeah, let's do some clean sounds. So this was like my clean sound for like ever. I'm gonna move to my split coil position. Let's see what the clean sound like. Sorry, it sounds like my guitar got out of tune a little bit there. So you see in the front you have the effects, you have the delay, you have the reverb. Very easy to dial in. I also have another clean I want to show you on here. See if it pops up. I think it's in the 60. Ah, here we go. This is like, remember that hit band from the 90s, Live? This is like the total live clean sound. And some lightning crashes, that's what that reminds me of. So ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap things up for the Johnson J Station. How does it hold up 20 years after it's born? Okay, it holds up okay. I think a couple guys still have some of these in their studios. You can get some cool sounds out of it. I know they really didn't explore the effects that much, but I kind of wanted to only focus on the modeling. The effects are all right. For the time, it was cool that I had everything in there. I didn't need separate pedals. I mean, the Recto sounds okay. I kind of like the Marshall modeling that's in here better than some of the other ones that are in here. The cleans have always been good on here. So I find, like, when I mean good, I mean they don't sound like absolute trash. The true test of a model is how it handles high gain sounds, because it's really hard to emulate. But overall, I guess it does okay. 20 years after its inception. I mean, it's been like 15, 16 years since I actually got it. It's still the piece of gear I still remember. I don't think I'm ever going to get rid of it just because it's cool. I think I'm going to put this thing versus the pod. I'm going to put it versus my Axe effects. So if you want to see those videos, make sure you press subscribe, not smash. I'm moving away from smash, and we're going to do press. Press that subscribe button so you see all those good videos. If you liked this comparison, make sure you hit that like button too. That lets YouTube know I'm a cool guy, because we all love cool guys, right? All right, guys. Let me know, what are your impressions of the Johnson J Station? Let me know in those comments down below. And as for me, I'm going to have to be out. Peace.